Good afternoon, everyone. Futures Brizio here. Time to do a Monday wrap up. It is 3:50 p.m. on Monday, January 26, 2026. Hope everybody had a great weekend and a good day at the start to the week. Before we get started, as always, make sure you smack that like button, subscribe to the channel, and any questions or comments, leave them down below. I did finally get a new computer, guys, so I'm using that now. So spent the weekend kind of getting it set up. I'm still working on some of my platform customizations, not so much TradingView because that's cloud-based, but for my MetaTrader. But got 95% of it set up the way I wanted, and programs installed and transferred the data I needed to, and did some customization of it. So I'm very happy about that. So hopefully this will do me for quite a while. So anyways, so let's just jump right in. We'll take a quick look at the market. So we'll start off on Rice. I did take a trade on Rice today on my personal account. I can't trade it on my funded account because it's not a market they offer. So I'll show you the trade on that in a second. But why did I take it? Well, if we look here, starting way out here, monthly chart, which I don't do a lot, but I have talked about this in many past videos about Rice. And you can see price came down right to this level, which has been hit many, many times, going all the way back here to 2001. We've come down to this area around 940. I've talked about this on many videos. And so then if we jump down to some lower time frames, here's the daily. You can see the lower highs, lower lows, higher lows, higher highs being put in off that low. Here's that weekly low, and then we started moving up here. And we can just step down and we can just continue to see these. So I am bullish on Rice just from a technical standpoint. If we look at, COT index, we did come out of this extreme long area a couple of weeks ago, which, like I said, when it comes out of those areas, that's when it actually starts to move in that direction. Generally, this is the commercial index for the commercial traders, COT index for the commercial traders. And so as long as, even though it's down in this now, quote, extreme short area, until if and when it starts to bend and come out of this area, this is still an area to continue to look for long positions, anywhere from when it came out of this area until it starts coming back out of this area, okay, and starts moving higher out of this area. That would suggest potentially lower prices, but we're nowhere near that right now. So so over on MetaTrader, this is the account. This is the trade from today. I just threw a rectangle around it, and you can see I got in long here just around the market open. This is the 1 hour chart. So this was this was 8:30 this morning. So it was actually a little before the regular market open. I jumped in and basically I just took it on because it was a very nice little setup. We go back to here and we go down to the 1 hour. You can see, we had this nice pullback right here. We had this high, we pulled back, and then, heading into the session here today, we started pushing higher off this level after this nice pullback, and I felt it was a good, low risk opportunity. I put my stop below this low right here, and I just let it go, and I ended up closing it right around the market close today. So I did take it as a day trade, although I probably could have held it, but it was it was only one contract. I made like $400 on it. So it was, hey, it was good for one quick trade. So, but anyways, we'll continue to be bullish on this market. So I will wait for pullbacks, whether it be on this, 9-10 hour chart to look for these Heikin Ashi pullbacks. And then once I see this type of setup, with kind of bearish Heikin Ashi candles, then I start dropping to shorter time frames like the 4 hour, the 1 hour, whatever, and start to look for resumption of those trends, in this case up. But I don't like to, jump it too quick. Let the market tell me when it's ready to go up again. And so you got to be a little bit careful, because as you start dropping to the shorter time frames, you're going to start getting some false signals like right here. So we had this pullback, and then all of a sudden we get this bullish candle right here. I know it's not a very remarkable candle, but for Heikin Ashi, it's a pretty good, indicator. And if you had gone long right here, the market continued down. Depending where, if you had your stop loss here, you got knocked out on this candle, only to have it go in your direction. So that's why I'd be a little bit careful sometimes with these candles. That's why I like using the higher time frames. But the drawback to that is that sometimes you're going to get a late entry. So if we go back to like a 10-hour chart, so all of these candles stayed bearish right here, and then we finally get this bullish candle right here. Okay. But of course, this already pulled out of this zone. This is a big candle. I mean, this is a 10-hour candle. And so you kind of left a lot on the table. So it's one of those things where you have to just kind of, do risk to reward, right? So price continues to come down. If you want to take it on the shorter time frame, the 4-hour in this case, maybe you need to put your stop at this previous swing down here, just to give it some breathing room. And then if it starts to go in your favor, as soon as this candle painted, you take your stop loss from down here and you move it all the way up to underneath this big candle, and you really minimize your risk, and then just let the trade go after that. So you can just take all the signals off the long time frame like this, but sometimes, again, if price moves aggressively, you're going to get a really bad fill. Now, on the flip side, this trade that I took today, we had this little blue bullish Heikin Ashi candle formed out right here. Now, again, it's very small, but from the way Heikin Ashi candles are calculated, it's still a bullish candle. And it was after price came down into a structure level that I would have looked at buying anyways. So in this case, if you gotten in here, this still would have been a great trade, low risk. Put your stop under here, be done with it, right? But sometimes, like I said, you're going to get these really aggressive moves. Now, in the case of this one, from a Heikin Ashi standpoint, we had this doji candle, and I've talked about this. So if we're looking for longs, and so let's get rid of this one now. We're looking for longs, and you see this doji candle like this, okay, with a big long wick, even though it's a bearish doji, because it is a bearish candle, because it's purple. That's how I designate my down candles. It's a very big wick doji candle in the direction of an uptrend. So which means price tried to go lower. The big money pushed the price down, or sellers tried to come in here, whatever, caused this to spike, and it left this huge wick. And even though it closed lower on the close of this candle, this still would have, to me, been a decent place to enter. And if I go to the 4-hour chart, okay, we also have it right here, this little doji right here, and even the one before it, this one right here with this big wick. But like I said, even if you wanted to stay on this high time frame, this still would have been an entry, even though it was a bearish candle, because again, you're in the bias of a long trade. You have market structure in your favor. You have a really good deep pullback. You got a big ass wick that went down and tapped liquidity, took stop losses, fooled breakout traders, whatever it is that caused that to wick down. Obviously, it was big money pushing price down in order to get some liquidity and go higher, more than likely. So the close of this candle, I still would have considered taking a long. And then, of course, that would have been great, because then starting at the very next candle, price went up. All right, so basically, what am I looking for now? I'm still looking for the same thing. I'm looking for another pullback, at least a couple of candles. You can see, some of these pullbacks are really deep. Some are not too deep, but probably once it does start to pull back, you're probably going to be looking for at least 1 or 2 sessions. On a 10-hour chart, you're talking like 2 candles a day. So you want to look for at least 3 to 4 candles down, and then I'll start to look for longs again. But anyway, so there probably won't be any trade on this, certainly tomorrow, not on this time frame, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so moving on, we'll go to soybean oil. Again, bigger picture here. So we were going down. This is the monthly chart, and I know you're saying, but I don't trade on this chart. It's just to get that really big picture about where the market is. So we had this downtrend, lower high, lower high. Is this a lower high, or is this now a higher low? We're going to start breaking higher. So that's why I have these two yellow lines kind of marking off the current range. It's a little bit different picture than what we saw before, right? Before we had this pullback and we had this really aggressive move down. Pullback, really aggressive move down. Now we have this pullback, not so aggressive, right? Two small candles, two dojis, and now a bullish candle. So what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at the commitment of traders. Here's our COT index. Well, what do we see here? This is the weekly chart where I plot this COT because this comes out weekly. So to me, the weekly chart is where you need to look at commitment of traders. So I'm not really looking at the price action here. I'm just looking down here at the COT data. And what do we see? The COT is coming out of this extreme long position. Like I said, when it comes out of these zones, that's generally when price starts to move in that direction. So what are we seeing? Price comes out, and now we're starting to see bullish price action. So to me, even though going back to the monthly chart, we were trending down, my bias on this, when I look at this price action with these, doji bear candles where there's just not really a lot of push to go down anymore, where here we had these really big bearish Heikin-Ashi candles coming off these pullbacks, I'm more inclined to look for long positions right now. And so if we drop down to shorter time frames, on soybean oil, I like time frames like, the 9 or 10 hour chart. We've got some indecision right now, right? We've got all these, candles right here kind of trying to go higher and it's failing. So, we could see a little bit more weakness here. If we look at the 4 hour chart or even back to the 10 hour, I would say, we probably have like a structure level, a major structural level sitting here. This is more of this, congestion area down here. And so, my bias on this is to the upside, but we could see a deeper pullback here. I don't know, but I'm going to be patient on this and wait for this thing to play out. And then again, based on the COT data and based on these kind of not so strong selling action on the monthly chart, I might be inclined to be more bullish on this, but we'll see. But we have to hold structure though, and that's probably about right in here. If we switch over to regular candlesticks, we can kind of see that structure level right here that led to these highs. I don't really consider this much, and we haven't broken this area anyway. So that's what I'm looking at for soybean oils. I'm waiting, hopefully, for a long setup, and we'll see. Okay, for soybeans, again, monthly chart, still looking pretty bearish. We do have major structure sitting, or major support, not structure, major support sitting down here, depending where you look, in here, somewhere around where I have this horizontal line. It's not an exact area, just in general. So we do look like we have room to push. This does look pretty bearish to me. What do we have on the COT? We had price that moved out of the extreme short position and then heading higher, which means, again, when it comes out of this zone, that's usually when those trends start. And so sure enough, price looks like it wants to go down. So I'm bearish on this, and this, I'm waiting for this to set up. They're actually probably, I think I did, hold on a second. Did I take a trade? I probably should know that, right? No, I didn't. So anyways, I will wait for a pullback, and then I'll be looking to enter this one short. And this actually is looking pretty. I mean, this is the 10-hour chart. If we go to the 4 hour, we already started putting in. So any little pullback here, like on a 1 hour chart, and we've had pretty aggressive move down. Here's the hourly chart. I'd like to see a little bit of a pullback here now, since I missed this initial run. It might not go that far, but I'd like to see maybe some sort of blue candle here, maybe on a 1 to 4 hour chart, and then have this continue down, and we can work down towards that monthly low that I saw. So bearish on soybeans, again, based on monthly structure and also on COT data. All right, moving on to Canadian dollar. Again, do the same process out to the monthly chart. Okay, again, monthly chart, we've got a triple tap at this area right here around 68.50 or whatever this area is down here. Again, not an exact science, but you can clearly see the market has reacted off this area twice before and appears to be doing so again. So this is a monthly chart. So it doesn't have to go up and make like giant all new highs. These are monthly candles, guys. So you can ride a few trades just within one of these candles on a shorter time frame and have some really nice trades. I'm not a huge fan of COT on currencies, but if we do look here, okay, we did come out of the extreme long position back in December, and we're still chugging along down here. So until we come out of this area and start heading higher out of the extreme short position, this still, to me, is a bullish setup, okay? It wasn't as ideal as it was back here, but it is still there, okay? And so, but again, just looking at this triple bottom now, I do expect to see price at least try to make a run up a little bit higher, even if it just comes back to like this resistance, this, equal highs up here. That still could take a couple of months. I mean, again, just remind you, this is a monthly chart. So at least in the kind of midterm here, I'm looking more bullish on the Canadian dollar. Okay. Again, just from a COT and from a long-term chart situation. Okay, on to soybean meal. Again, monthly chart. This one's a little bit dicey, right? Because if you look here, we're sitting at potentially, we've got basically two support areas here. We've got this one that's probably sitting right about here where price already tried. And then there's another one sitting a little bit lower right here. And you can see we came in right in between these two areas, okay? So I'm a little hesitant to want to sell this market just because, again, of this zone it's sitting in right in between these two lines that I just drew. Okay. Well, what does our COT tell us? COT tells us that prices probably will continue to go down. We did come out of this oversold or extreme short area and heading higher. So if we want to be consistent, that's suggesting potentially lower prices. Now, maybe we take another run down that run, because now if we go to a 4-hour chart, this does look pretty bearish, right? We had this pullback, we had a swing high, pullback, and then heading down. So even if we just come back down to this first line right here, this is that nearby line I drew on the monthly chart. Okay, that's this first line right here. That's still, there's still some good trades in there. And obviously, it could come further if we kind of collapse our chart. Here's that second line. So, we could come to here, or maybe we come all the way back down to the other end of that zone that here. These are those two lines I drew on the monthly. All right, so either way, at least short-term bearish, just based on COT data. But, we'll see how this one plays out. I'll get rid of this line since I just moved it anyways. And, we'll see how that goes. I gotta move myself out of the way here. I am holding a short. I did take a short based on that on my personal account. Here it is. I'm going to hold this. Obviously, the market's closed. But here's the 4-hour chart on my personal account. And this is going down. So again, this was that low basically at that first line I drew on the monthly chart. So this is like a short-term target back to these previous lows here. Okay. All right. And let's see here. For corn, so we go to corn here, monthly chart. Again, we've got all of this in here, which, is, again, monthly chart. You can see several taps into this zone right here, whether we're talking about up here or here, kind of like soybean meal, where we had like basically a zone, not just one particular area. And then notice right here, we put in, we came down, tapped the top of the zone, came in here, and potentially put in a higher low right here. You can see the little trend line that I drew. Now, what's the COT data telling us? COT data is telling us potentially for more to look for more short positions, because we came out of this extreme short area, okay, and continue to head down, with this heading up now, potentially you know, looking for more shorts. So if we zoom out, zoom into a shorter time frame, remember we had this really big drop a couple of weeks ago, and then price kind of chopped higher here. So this does look pretty bearish. I mean, we did break this previous structure here on the mid-range time frames, and so potentially we could see this break lower. Okay, just based on the COT data, but I do have concerns based on this major kind of support level sitting down here. But maybe what happens is we take a run and come further into this zone, maybe back to these lows. That this is just like a pullback here, and eventually it runs lower into this area. I don't know, but at least again, short term still bearish on this. But I do have some concerns just based on where price just bounced off of recently. Okay, and I'm going to skip hogs for now, but let's just look at copper. And quickly, copper looking very bullish. Weekly chart it looks like it's tried to come out of this extreme short area to potentially set up shorts. But you can see it kind of like came up and then right back in, came up, right back in. Now it's trying to break out again. So this is, a little bit tricky here. This, this low end of this zone maybe isn't right for the copper market. Maybe this needs to be a little bit higher for copper. But overall, basically right now, I am still bullish on this. But if this weekly chart, this weekly COT data, it starts to really move higher, especially if it clears. You can see where, 3 times it tried to go higher, 1, 2, 3. If this, if we get the next report and, or any kind of subsequent reports, and we see this thing come a little bit higher and kind of take out these highs on the COT, then that would change my bias probably to more of a short bias. But right now, still bearish, bullish on this market. And you can see here, just going to shorter time frames like the 4-hour, I do have an alert set right here. And I would expect to see prices at least come back up to like these highs in this area right here. All right. So, yes. Sorry, guys, just checking something. Okay. So, yeah, so that's it. So, that's a quick look at futures. Just kind of, again, same thing I've been doing, using higher time frames, Heikin Ashi candles if you want. Use the weekly COT index to kind of give you, when you have confluence between what the long time frames are telling you and the COT index, those are the best, opportunities. And some of them, sometimes they're in conflict. Maybe those are markets you just kind of stand aside until things straighten out a little bit. Okay. I'm not going to cover anything on Forex today. I'm holding one open Forex trade on my funded account in Euro GBP, and that's it. So I'm not going to really cover too much of that right now. We'll do a dive into Forex a little bit more in terms of setups. And again, on Forex, I'm using Heikin Ashi candles also. There's obviously no COT, but I'm using Heikin Ashi and the daily chart only, just to look for trends, pullbacks in those trends, and then re-entry. But we'll cover that in another video. So I'll leave it there, guys. Hope that was helpful. Questions, comments, leave them down below. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Have a good rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon.